As the Rams get ready to head into Week 6 against the Carolina Panthers, is there even more bad offensive news on the horizon? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button in your podcast feed, as well as our Locked On Rams YouTube channel. That's another great way to take in the podcast to get your Rams content every single day. Excuse me. My name is Travis Rogers. I host not only this Locked On Rams podcast, but I'm also the host of the Rams pre, half, and post-game show on their flagship station, ESPN 710, right here in Los Angeles. We get going about 2 hours before the start of every Rams game. So if you're in and around the city, give that a listen. And of course, we are on right after the conclusion of the game with all of your Rams post-game commentary as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Travis Rogers. That is all coming up in just a little bit. Let me remind you that today's Locked On Rams is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Okay, so here's what we are going to have a little bit of a conversation about today. We're going to talk about why the Rams can't run the ball at all, and it's actually even worse than you might think, because the defenses are doing very little to actually try and stop them, and it's still not working. That's just around the corner. Plus, help on the way. Not if you listen to what Sean McVay had to say about it. That also is coming up in just a little bit. But let's start with Odell Beckham Jr. Let's start with what he tweeted and what Sean McVay had to say in response to those tweets. If you were of the mind, and I kind of put myself in here, I've become less bullish on this over time, but if you're of the mind, hey, listen, let's get to the point where the team is a little bit healthier and the Allen Robinson thing's not working, but Van Jefferson will come back, and oh, by the way, Odell Beckham Jr. could be on the horizon as well, and then the Rams offense will start to look more like the Rams offense. Okay, it's an interesting theory. I don't know how much validity there is, and I think whatever there might have been in it before, there is less now, because here's what's happened over the last couple of days with Odell and the Rams. Odell was on Twitter and was asked about whether or not he was coming back to Los Angeles, where his head was with regards to where he might play next. And I'm not going to read you the tweets exactly. I'll just kind of give you the essence of what it was. He basically said, hey, listen, I love it in Los Angeles. I love the organization. I thought I found a home there. They get me, is what he basically said. But he also added, they made me an offer that was not cool. They did not give me a contract offer that I felt was in line with my ability, with what I brought to that team, and with what I've shown them that I can accomplish in that offense. And it was nowhere near what I thought it was going to be. So I don't know, man. I wanted to be back. I thought we were going to get something done, but this just, I can't work for that. Okay. Not an unreasonable position. Not an unreasonable position at all. Look, Odell Beckham clearly reestablished himself as a high-level NFL wide receiver. The guy that was in New York a million years ago, we thought was gone. The guy that went to Cleveland was, wait, this guy not only is a handful to have in your organization, he's overly emotional, and, oh, by the way, he's not a very good football player anymore. Turns out none of that was true at all. Turns out that the Browns are the Browns, and they just can't get out of their own way. That they had bad quarterbacks, that they had bad coaching, and that Odell was not being used to maximize his strengths. Comes to Los Angeles, and boom, it happens. It's just like, oh, right, he's really good. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he have been? Right coach, right quarterback, another guy on the other side in Cooper Kupp. And yes, he looks just like he's supposed to look, kind of like we were hoping Allen Robinson would look, only it didn't work out like that. And it just seemed like the perfect. He was happy in Los Angeles. Odell's a star. LA's a town that is built on stars. So everything kind of works together. And then you find out that the Rams lowballed him, or at least according to Odell, they lowballed him. And oh, by the way, they're not very good at the moment. And oh, by the way, it does not look like they're gearing up to make another Super Bowl run. Lots of football left, but through the first 5 weeks of the season, not particularly encouraging. Now, the good news, if there is some, is that Sean McVay is saying, listen, we're not done offering. We love Odell. He literally, I love Odell. I let it be said. I can't say enough about the guy. I want him back. We're going to do everything we can, and we're not done. We have not made our final offer to him. That sounds like the truth, and it also sounds like a little bit, hey, whoa. Before you do anything else, give us one more crack at this thing. That's what it sounds like to me. And it also sounds like Odell is realizing, listen, I got maybe one more good shot at this. I got one more contract coming my way, and I got to get paid. Totally get it. Makes sense to me. And I'd like to go play on a winning team. The Rams are not going to pay me, at least according to their original offer. And it doesn't look like the Rams are going to win this season. So why would I not go kick the tires in Buffalo, maybe Green Bay? Even the Giants has been speculated that maybe he's going back. There are teams that are having a better season than the Rams through the first 5 weeks. There are guys that maybe are more willing to offer him a more lucrative contract. I get it. And it kind of goes together with something we've been talking about all week, which is this is kind of the other side of when everything has been working as well as it has. You know, you make 10 moves and 8 of them work. Well, your next 10 moves, maybe 3 of them work. And this is one of the moves that isn't working. You know, he kind of rolled the dice, didn't bring him back, didn't offer him what he felt he was in line for. And now you get off to a slow start, and all the pieces are lining up for him to go somewhere else. I do like that Sean McVay is attempting to, hey, hold on a second, let's try to make this right. But just the fact that it was out there at all makes you feel a certain way about it. They're going to need some help. I don't know if Odell is the difference between them going from what they've looked like so far to looking what they looked like last year, but it would be a step in the right direction. Look, if the offensive line doesn't get better, then none of this stuff really matters beyond that. But he would make a positive impact. At what price? That's up to Les Snead. That's up to Kevin Demoff. That's up to Sean McVay. That's up to all the people that make those decisions inside the Rams organization. And maybe they're thinking, listen, we gotta hit the button. We got to start over. We got to think about where we are financially, how old he is, and all of the other decisions that you make there. And maybe it doesn't work out. It felt like a long time like this was probably going to be something that ultimately they got squared away. It feels less like that today than it has at any other point. Okay, coming up next, as far as helping on the way in Odell, maybe not. Any other places? Also, maybe not. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn, right? Look, you hiring somebody, it's a challenge, right? If you are a business owner, if you're in a position where you need to hire people, you know what those stakes can feel like, right? You got to get it right. You want to be 100% certain that you at least have the right candidates available to you. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps people find the right person for your team faster and for free. I've been in a position where I've had to hire people before, and you go through resume after resume, and you're looking at posts and posts, and it's like, okay, I'm not even sure I have my hands on the right guys. This is where LinkedIn Jobs can help, right? Here's what you do. You add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools, screening questions, makes it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and ultimately hire. You want to finish out the year strong, right? You want to get that right person in the right job so you can hit 2023 on the run. LinkedIn Jobs can help. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to and helps you find them even faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. Now, don't forget to make your second listen, your third listen, the entire podcast network listen. NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Locked On's local experts giving you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games of the NFL weekend, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus betting advice from the field's leading experts, BetOnline. Follow key NFL predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever. All right. So one of the things that the Rams have been particularly adept at in the Sean McVay era is adding players during the season, finding guys who can make an impact on the team even after the season has already started. We talked about Odell last segment, and obviously he was an incredibly valuable addition to what they did last year. Von Miller goes without saying. Von Miller was maybe the most important addition last year, and I think they desperately miss him this year now that he's in Buffalo. But this isn't just last year. Jalen Ramsey was a trade. Dante Fowler was a trade. The Rams Austin Corbett, who became an integral part of what they do along the offensive line during their Super Bowl run, was a trade acquisition. They use the trade. They use it more like a baseball or a basketball team than any other NFL team. The NFL trades, like when you think about it, it's not really something that happens all that often. The Rams do it. So the fact that they're struggling the way that they are offensively, in particular on the offensive line, quick little note here, Brian Allen will not play against the Panthers. So he's out for at least another week. And then, of course, the bye week's coming up. So maybe against San Francisco, cross your fingers there. Matt Skura has been added to the active roster. He may be your next, they'll be your fourth starting center of the year on Sunday. We'll see what that looks like. But the help that is sometimes out there may not be out there this year. Sean McVay was asked about whether or not there are opportunities to make the team better via, outsiders at this point. And what he said was, that's always something that we're exploring. But I think the main focus and concentration right now is figuring out how to adjust and adapt with all our moving parts, figure those players out that are maybe new to us or the different circumstances and situations that have arisen through the first 5 weeks. It has been different, but everybody deals with different things, and we have to do a better job. And I've got to do as good a job as possible of figuring that out. And then ultimately, it's on the players to be able to execute. Okay, I'm going to take that out of McVay speak. I am fluent in Sean McVay's speech. What that means is, yeah, look, we'll keep our eyes open, but we've been crushed with injuries. We've been crushed with guys moving all over the place, and that's nothing new in the NFL. But what we got to do is we got to figure it out. And then when we figure it out, the guys got to go out there and do what we're asking them to do. This guy's got to block that guy. This guy's got to catch this pass. This guy's got to get open in this area. We just got to do what we're being asked to do, and then maybe we got a chance. This was not oh, no, help's on the way. The Calvary's coming. Don't worry. Dante Fowler, there's another one. Jalen Ramsey and, Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr., Austin Corbett, all the guys that I just mentioned. Oh, yeah, we're going to get another guy, and everything's going to snap back in, and here we go. We're ready to go. No. What this is these guys that are second stringers, third stringers, these guys that are maybe not playing at a high level or certainly not at the highest level that we would have hoped, they're going to have to get better. They're going to have to execute the game plan that we're putting on. It's really interesting to hear him talk about this because McVay, I think, does the thing that players really appreciate, that when stuff goes well, Sean McVay instantly deflects any sort of praise that's directed at him and gives it to the players. They did a great job. Matthew Stafford was great. Cooper Kupp was great. Andrew Whitworth's the leader. Aaron Donald's unbelievable. Jalen Ramsey makes plays like a Hall of Famer. Bobby Wagner, that he gives the credit to the players whenever things go well. He also does the thing that the players like, which is when it goes badly, I put us in a position where we were behind the sticks. I did not call the right plays. I need to do a better job of coming up with a game plan. I need to do this. I need to do that. He takes all the responsibility when it goes poorly, which is why I find it really interesting that he's not doing that to the degree that he typically does. I get it. Injuries are a big deal of why the Rams are where they are right now. But he's said it more than once, and he said it in that quote right there. We need to execute. We need to execute better the things that we are trying to get done. We are not going to get different players. We are not going to find, this is not hey, the scheme is bad. This is not I did a bad job here or the staff was not up to snuff. There's a lot of, we need to execute better. And look, you know this, I know this, the players more than anybody know this. We need to execute more. You know what that means? Dudes need to play better. Execute means play. Execute better means, dude, can you make a play? Can you please block that guy? Can you stay in front of that guy? Allen Robinson, can you get open? Do we think that Sean McVay forgot how to scheme guys open? I don't. I think he knows what he's doing. I'm still a huge believer in Sean McVay. I think that he still is. If he's not the best coach in the NFL, you're not getting past a finger or two before you say, okay, yeah, Sean McVay's next. and all of a sudden nothing works. I think it's a combination of two things. You are crushed with injuries and arguably the most important position on the field, not the quarterback, the offensive line. And two, guys just aren't doing what they're being asked to do. And then it becomes, are they just not executing, or is it more of they're incapable of executing? And that could be the scariest part of all. It's not, okay, like, I can get a little better in my technique. I can get a little better in my preparation, or I can't stay in front of that guy. I can't move him out of the spot. I can't do the thing that needs to get done. That may be the answer, and we'll get a pretty good idea on what that's going to be like against Carolina on Sunday, because that's a team that they should beat. But the execution, that means play better. And Sean McVay saying that more than I've ever heard him say it before. I think that's very meaningful. Okay, coming up next, want to talk about what that opposing defense is doing to our run game and how it has really not looked very good at all. Plus, give you some keys to focus on as they head into Sunday's game, Week 6 against the Carolina Panthers. That's all coming up next on Locked On Rams. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for football betting information this season. The Rams are a 10.5-point favorite. The Rams have scored 10 and 12 points in their last 2 games, and they're 10. That's how bad Carolina is, that the Rams, who can't seem to move the ball at all, that the Rams have had really one meaningful touchdown that was a 75-yarder from Cooper Kupp. All of a sudden, that is a 10.5-point point spread in their favor. That's how bad Carolina is. All of this information is available to you at BetOnline. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, in-depth articles, analysis, including the Rams game, on every game that you would want. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information, live betting, and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. Head on over to BetOnline.net. Of course, you can use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So a lot of talk about the offensive line, a lot of talk about the inability to protect Matthew Stafford, who's been sacked 21 times through the first 5 games of the season, that they've been sacked 12 times in the last 2 weeks alone. And, of course, the offensive line's inability to create any sort of space in the running game. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson so far this season, Cam Akers, 51 attempts, 151 yards. Darrell Henderson, 34 attempts, 138 yards. He had 0 carries last week. The Rams have the worst rushing attack in the league, full stop. It's just not good. And a lot of that is on the offensive line, to be sure. The problem is there are not a lot of defensive linemen in there. This is not something that the other teams are doing. They're loading the box and forcing the Rams into passing situations. According to Next Gen, Darrell Henderson has run against 0 loaded boxes, right? That's 8 defenders in that box. Akers has faced it just about 6% of the time. That's 4th lowest in the league. So what they're doing is they're able to stop the run. They're able to go through and find a way to stop the Rams' ground attack, put an incredible amount of pressure on the quarterback, 21 sacks, like I mentioned, and do it without putting a bunch of guys in the line of scrimmage, without putting guys in that box, right? I mean, that is a defensive coordinator's most pleasurable dream of his life, right? I can get pressure on the quarterback. They're not going to run it on me, and I don't have to send everybody. I don't have to load it up. I can play all sorts of coverage in the back end and make life on Matthew Stafford even more difficult, because not only is he running for his life, but when he looks down there, it's nothing but defensive jerseys. Is there anything that a defensive coordinator would like more than that? I think the answer is no. The Rams have to find a way to move the ball on the ground. They have to commit to it, even if it's not, ripping it off 4, 5, 6 yards a carry. Run the ball. Make them come up and try to stop it a little bit. And if they can do it without loading that box, then it's a wrap. There's not much you can do after that. So that brings us to our keys for Sunday's game against the Panthers. #1, do better up front. Find a way to get Matthew Stafford something other than a handful of sacks. If you can limit it to 1 or 2, great news. Sean McVay thinks that Carolina has a good defense. We will see. I talked with Julian Council on our crossover episode yesterday. It's okay, but this is going to come down to whichever defense I think makes a play, and I think that's the second point that I want to make. can the Rams find a way to score points that isn't long, sustained drives? Can they get a short field on a turnover? Can they make a long field goal? Can they score a defensive touchdown? Because if somebody can get to 20, I think they're going to feel really good about their chances to win this game. Like I mentioned when we were talking about BetOnline a second ago, this is a 10.5-point spread for the Rams. And I just think, okay, two things here. They may still have a little bit of the Rams are going to figure it out factor going on. And Carolina must be dreadful if they think that the Rams are going to beat anybody by 10 points right now. Rams have really struggled offensively. And, of course, the Rams, last thing, they need to clean up those special teams. You can't have another blocked kick. You're going to have to make your field goals. You're going to have to find a way to get something going in the return game. You're going to have to put some pressure on the other groups' special teams units because the Rams have been on their heels in that regard all season long. All right, game coming up on Sunday, week 6 against the Carolina Panthers. We'll have everything for you next week on Locked On Rams. We'll break it down, and it is bye week for the Rams next week. So hopefully they can get a little bit healthier as they head into week 9 week 8 against the San Francisco 49ers. Until then, thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson giving you the expert NFL analysis that you need in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you find your podcasts. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.